Okay, so up and till now we've been using factoring to solve quadratics, but sometimes you can't factor, and you'll need to use the quadratic formula instead. So basically, if a polynomial of degree 2 cannot be factored, use the quadratic formula. So step 1, gather all the terms on one side and ensure it equals 0. Step 2, identify A, B, and C. Notice this is the standard form. So A is whatever's in front of x squared, B is whatever's in front of x, and C is whatever your constant is. And then determine what the discriminant is. So B squared minus 4AC is called the discriminant, and it's going to help us identify how many solutions we should have and whether they're real or complex. So you'll notice here I have some notes just that if there's a positive discriminant, it means there will be 2 real solutions, negative, 2 complex solutions, also known as no real solutions. In Algebra 1, you would have said no real solutions, but we're going to talk about complex and imaginary numbers in Algebra 2. If the discriminant actually equals 0, that's a double root, it's one unique real solution. Okay? And then step 4, simplify the discriminant and fill it into the formula here. And we also have the full formula, and there's a song for the full formula, so to be fair, I kind of like doing it this way because I just plug everything in at once, but the discriminant does help you depending on how your calculator works, okay? So I am going to sing the song here, and I'm going to follow along. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That all over is super important. I see students all the time only put the fraction underneath the square root. That would be wrong. Okay, so don't do that. All right, so let me sing it one more time, and you should sing along with me. Okay, I promise once you sing it and get it into your head, it'll be great. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so let's see how we're going to do this. So step 1, gather all the terms and ensure it equals 0. Yes, it does. Okay. Step 2, identify A, B, and C. So we have A equals 2. B equals, notice we're going to take the negative with it. So it's negative 4 equals negative 4. C equals negative 16. Now I'm going to figure out what's the discriminant first so that I can simplify it appropriately. So discriminant is just the b squared minus 4ac. So in our case, it's going to be negative 4. Now, if you don't put parentheses, you're going to get the whole problem wrong. So don't do that. Put parentheses. Okay? Negative 4 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 16. So what you're going to do is you can use the calculator and you can just plug that all in. Negative 4 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 16 equals positive 144. Okay, so what we have is we have x equals negative b, which is negative 4, right, or the opposite of negative 4, plus or minus the square root of the discriminant. Well, that's this one, so 144. All of that over 2 times a, which is 2. All right, so let's clean this up. Square root 144, can it be simplified? And the answer, of course, is yes. Square root of 144 is just 12. If you don't know that or you're not sure, check it in a calculator. So this negative is going to become positive 4 plus or minus. Now, I already took the square root, right? So don't put the square root anymore. Square root 144, it just equals regular 12. And then on the bottom you have 2 times 2, which is 4. So here's the deal. This plus or minus is actually going to give you 2 different answers. You're going to go plus one time and then minus the other. So let's see. I'm going to have 4 plus 12 over 4. And then I'm going to have 4 minus 12 over 4. And 4 plus 12 over 4, this is going to be 16 divided by 4, which is 4. This one's going to be negative 8 divided by 4, which is negative 2. So the two answers are 4 or negative 2. And you can check those. Don't get these problems wrong because you can check your answer. And if it's wrong, try again. Okay? So take 4, plug it in here and here, see if the whole thing equals 0. Then take negative 2, in parentheses, plug it in here and here, see if the whole thing equals 0. If they both work, then your answer's fine. Alright, here's our second example. Now, notice on this one it has stuff on both sides, and we don't want that. We want to, step 1, gather all the terms on one side. So I'm going to minus 7x, and I'm going to minus 2 from this side, so that basically this side will equal 0. And then over here, combine any like terms, but in this case we don't have any like terms. They're just separate. Okay. So now I can identify my A, B, and C. Notice I'm using the negatives. Okay. I'm going to find my discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. So in this case, that's going to be negative 7 squared, in parentheses, minus 4 times 10 times c. Now, somebody last year, they said, where did the 4 come from? It's part of the formula. Okay, it's always there. All right, so in my calculator, I've got 7 squared, which is, oh, okay, technically negative 7, but it wouldn't have actually mattered. Minus 4 times 10 times negative 2. And I get 129. Alright, now 129, I need to see if this can be simplified. I know it's not a perfect square. If you're not sure, check it. Do square root 129. And you'll see that it comes up a decimal. So that means that you need to see how you can simplify it. Now, 129, I like to use the cake method, is divisible by 3, and I know that because all the digits add up to things that are divisible by 3. So 129 divided by 3 is 43. And the problem is that's prime, so basically I can't divide by anything else. So it cannot be simplified. So here's what that means. X equals the opposite of b, so positive 7, plus or minus the square root of 129 all over 2 times a, so 2 times 10. So what I've got is I've got x equals 7 plus or minus square root 129, and then 20 on the bottom. For the purpose of my class, it is absolutely acceptable for you to leave your answer in this format. If you want to split it into 2, you could write 7 plus square root 129 over 20, and you could write 7 minus square root 129. If you had to graph these, you would want to just put it in the calculator and see what the decimal is. But for the purpose of solving, we want exact answers, meaning we want you to leave it as a square root. All right, I've got one more for you. And we've got this one. So again, we're going to want to move everything over one side. So I have negative 9x squared. This is going to be minus 3 equals 0. Okay. And so for purposes of this, a equals negative 9 because it's in front of the x squared. Now, what's in front of the x? Nothing. It's not there. So we know that our b is going to be 0, and then our c is negative 3. So you're going to plug those into the formula for the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. So I've got 0 squared minus 4 times negative 9 times negative 3. So 0 squared is just 0. minus 4 times negative 9 times negative 3 equals negative 108. Okay, so now I am going to plug it in, and I have x equals the opposite of b. Well, the opposite of 0 is still 0, plus or minus the square root negative 108 all over 2 times a, which is 2 times negative 9. Now, this square root negative 108, let's take it over here. Let's do the cake method with 108. It's divisible by 3. So I'm going to have 386, which is divisible by 3. I'm going to get 12, which is divisible by 3. I'm going to get 4, which is 2 and 2. All right, so now the negative, okay, the negative out here, that's an I, because remember we have, anytime there's a square root with a negative, you're going to have an I out in front. 0 doesn't matter anymore, so I'm just going to write plus or minus. I'm going to pull out this I. In addition to the I have 3 and 2 out in front. So this is going to be 3 times 2, which is 6. And then inside I have the square root of 3. On the bottom I've got 2 times negative 9, which is negative 18. Oh, sorry, I just realized that was off the screen. Okay, so from there we can simplify. And really, I just need you to understand that the only parts you're simplifying are whatever's outside of this square root. So 6 and 18 simplify. 6 goes into 6 once, and it goes into 18 3 times. So when I go to write my final answer, I have plus or minus, positive or negative, I square root 3 over negative 3. And that's your final answer.